Check out FlipsideGaming.com for all your gaming needs. Use the promo code HEROES to save 10% on all orders over $10. Between now and August 10th, if you use this promo code, you will automatically be entered into a drawing where 4 winners will each win one of the Commander 2018 pre-constructed decks. See the description below for more details. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to a special edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch, where today we're going to check in on the results of Pro Tour 25th anniversary, look at some of the key deck lists, and then discuss how those decks had an impact this week on the secondary market. Now, quickly before we get started, just a really fast reminder, you heard it at the beginning of the video, but there's only a few days left to register to win one of those Commander 2018 decks, so check out all the details of that promotion we're running with Flipside Gaming below in the description. You're also going to find a link to our Patreon page there, as well as links to Amazon products. These are all ways to help support the channel. And as always, thank you not only to the folks that look at those links, but to all the viewers. Y'all make the channel a success, so thank you. Let's get into it though. All right, we're going to start off by looking at some standard deck lists. Now, if you're not familiar with Pro Tour 25th anniversary and the format that they followed, it's called Team Trios. So for each team, you have 3 players. One's going to run a standard deck, one a modern deck, and one a legacy deck. So it is entirely possible that one deck might be underperforming, but it could be propped up by the other 2 decks if they're overperforming. So just keep that in mind as we look at today's results. So starting with standard, the teams that were in the top 4 were running the following standard decks. Coming in first place, Gregory Orange was running Blue-White Control, a deck you're probably pretty familiar with. We'll look at the deck list in a moment. Second and third place, another deck you know really well, Red Black Aggro. Fourth place is a deck that's been around for a while now too, Blue-White Gift. Fifth place, however, was the Bant Nexus deck, which surprised a lot of people this weekend, so we'll talk more about that in just a few moments. But first, let's look at the Blue-White Control deck that came in first. Alright, here it is. Nothing too surprising for Teferi is very commonplace in these decks. 1 Torrential Gearhulk in the main. Some decks don't bother to do that. They just try to win game 1 with the Teferi Ultimate. However, I like to have the backup. It's just another card that maybe you can use as a win condition, possibly, if things don't go your way. Out of the board, you're going to find more creature win conditions. 2 more Torrential Gearhulks. You'll find a Kefnet, 3 Lyras, an Ezahal, so there's other options there. But for people familiar with this build, you're not seeing anything too out of the ordinary. Now let's take a look at some of the key cards and how they're performing in the secondary market. Search for Azcanta. Now, this isn't only in this particular deck, and that's going to be true of a lot of the cards we look at today, but it did go up 28 cents to $17.36 this week, partially due to its impact from this deck. Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, of course, up 93 cents to $34.99. Not only has this been great in standard, but also modern. Okay, the next one, Red Black Aggro. We'll take a look at the second place deck list that Martin Yuza had run. And again, there's nothing surprising here. We know this deck really well at this point. And that's the thing you also got to consider. A lot of time with team tournaments, you don't want to let your teammates down. So you play already tested and trusted decks. So you see a lot of the old standbys show up here. And this is definitely one of them. Here's a Blue-White Gift. Now this deck has really been around for a while at this point. Has had some changes, obviously, as new cards came in and such. But it's still performing very well and kind of back to its original roots being blue-white. Bant Nexus. All right, here's the one that didn't make the cut to the top 4, but we got to talk about it because it was the big surprise of the weekend. So some people saw this coming leading into the weekend event because there were a lot of pros trying to scramble to get Nexus of Fates and try to put this thing together. So the word started to leak out. However, until people saw it play on camera and actually got a chance to sit down and look at deck lists, did they really decide if this is something that was for them or not? And many players decided, yes, this is something I want to try out, and they ran out to the online marketplace to try to find these cards. So this isn't a cheap deck, I'll tell you. I mean, just the Planeswalkers alone can be kind of expensive. This particular version is running 2 cards, some run 4. There's always 4 Teferis, though, because again, that will end up being your win condition, much like some of the control builds. But the big news here, of course, is the 4 Nexus of Fates. We'll talk more about that in just a second. But I'll let you take another second to look at this deck list known as Bant Nexus, or a lot of people are calling it Turbo Fog as well, because it does behave like a Turbo Fog style deck. All right, Nexus of Fate went up $22.76 this week to $44.97. So I talked about this actually in a number of videos now, so I don't want to spend a ton of time on it, but I do want to make this point clear. I do think it's great that Wizards is trying to create incentives to get players to go out and make purchases from their local game store. I think that's incredibly important for the health of the game. And that is definitely something they need to continue doing. However, this is not necessarily that type of plan, I think, well executed, because either they have to be a lot more cautious when it comes to the power level of the cards that they're making for buy a box promos like this, or find other incentives that won't create a situation where players lose options as to what cards they can play in a format like Standard. Standard had its problems. It's been recovering for the last 6 months to a year, and now we're injecting a situation into it that just creates more bad feelings, and I don't think that's going to be good for the health of the format, even if it is just short term. The problem with the exclusivity of cards that actually see competitive play is that players just feel this false sense of urgency that they have to get the cards as soon as possible. And that's what happens. Basically, once people figured out Nexus of Fate is a very standard playable card, and this deck looked really good over the weekend. We don't have all the data yet because it's slow to come in. Wizards doesn't share necessarily every win or loss and all that. But there are people like Saffron Olive trying to put that together right now. So far, it looks like this deck could have a 70 to 80% win percentage. So that's really, really good. Now, it was also a surprise deck. We'll have to see how the environment digests this deck over the next few weeks. And also, what's going to happen in rotation? Does this get even better because the field gets narrower? Time will tell. But at least for right now, this spike is due to a couple of things. First off, I'm not going to say this card is scarce. There's a lot of copies out there. I mean, they throw a lot out there. But the problem is there's the fear of missing out. People are going to see this. Oh, wow, now I need 4 copies. I just got to pay whatever I got to pay because I don't want to pay more later. So the scramble begins. Some people are also going to list these at exaggerated price points to try to play on emotion a little bit. And even if they don't sell, ultimately, they're still contributing to the inflation. Performance over the next few weeks is going to make or break this card. If it doesn't perform well, then it's going to go down. It's probably going to go down very sharply. If it performs extremely well, and this becomes one of those decks that you see 6 copies of in a top 8, this could be a $80, $100 card. It would not shock me. Again, partially because of the fact that new copies aren't entering the marketplace as people open packs of Magic 2019, and also because of the psychological aspect of the card. So, I already said probably more than I wanted to say about it, but that's what happened this weekend. All right, one more deck I wanted to show you, Reservoir Combo. Again, I'm not going to say this deck came out of nowhere, but it did definitely see more play than I was expecting this weekend at the Pro Tour. I think it's a cool deck. It runs 4 Psymaster Thopterus. We're going to look at that card in just a second. Got some Mox Ambers in there. Of course, 3 Karn Sign of Urzas. Very popular card everywhere you look, it seems. Not spiking, though, because players already knew it was good and already had their copies, so it's not really doing a whole lot financially this week. Paradoxical Outcome, another great card. Sees vintage play as well. So let's see what happened here. Psymaster Thopterus from Magic 2019 up 22 cents this week to $1.99. Again, not the only deck that we saw this in this weekend. Aetherflux Reservoir going up 31 cents to $3.40. Okay, let's move on to Modern. Now, Modern also had kind of a surprise deck. We're going to look at that one after we look at the top 4. But the team that came in first, Ben Hall, was running Black Red Hollow One. Very, very good deck. Ben Stark, coming in second, was running Ironworks Combo, another great deck. Third and fourth place were both Humans decks. So, Modern's looked very diverse recently, and it is good to see 3 out of the 4 decks were different in the top 4, so that's always encouraging. Black Red Hollow One, a deck you're most likely very familiar with at this point, doesn't look all that different. 4 Hollow Ones, 4 Blood Gas, couple Collective Brutalities. Great deck. It's very, very consistent for the most part. Black Cleave Cliffs, which is in this deck, went up $1.73 to $49.99 this week. Engineered Explosives, this is the original 5th Dan version, up 206 this week to 101.88. This card has been super hot, not really because of this deck, but more because of Ironworks Combo, which is the deck that came in second. But since it's in this deck, I decided to just throw it in here. But really, the reason this has been climbing the way it has is because it's part of the main deck of Ironworks Combo, but it's also in so many sideboards in Modern right now. Leyline of the Void, another real hot card this week. Guild Pack up 360 to 37.43, with Magic 2011 up 446 to 34.99. Grim Lavamancer, this is maybe the workhorse of Modern, and it has definitely seen a ton of Modern play. It continues to see more and more play all the time. And it has a great week, partially due to the exposure. It's in this deck, of course, as well as many other very competitive decks right now. Torment goes up $1.49 to $20.87. Magic 2012 going up $1.84 to $14.99. The premium deck series Fire and Lightning, which is a foil card, I should point out, is going up $6.39 to $18.98. So 3 remaining copies are still remaining hot. That 4th one we talked about on Saturday has cooled off a little bit. Here's the second place Ironworks combo deck list. I do want to point out, look at that sideboard, 3 copies of Psy Master Thopterus. That's actually kind of cool. Other than that, you're probably familiar with this deck list. 4 Mox Opals, you got your Scrap Trawlers in here, the usual fare. Humans coming in both 3rd and 4th place. And again, nothing unusual about this deck list. Again, you don't see Dark Confidant in here. That has kind of fallen out of favor when it comes to this deck, but a lot of other big key cards like Noble Hierarch. And here it is, the Black-Red Vengevine deck. So, didn't make the top 4, but a lot of folks are playing it, and I'll tell you, this thing looked incredible on camera. It was blistering fast. This is another one that I wouldn't be surprised we find out is like a 70 to 80% win percentage from the Pro Tour weekend. It just looked really solid. And it's hard, it's kind of a dredge deck, but at the same time, it's just so fast that I don't even think a Rest in Peace out of the board is really going to slow this thing down all that much. It is extremely solid looking at this point. But like all decks, it has to sustain the test of time. All decks can be good when they're a surprise. We'll have to see what happens in the coming weeks as people prepare for the strategy. Now, with that being said, this surprised a lot of people this weekend. Now, if you're paying close attention to the tournament scene, maybe you weren't too shocked because this was starting to look better and better over the last couple weeks. But it really hit the big stage this past weekend, and it created a scramble for a lot of these cards. Hangerback Walker was just one of them, up 98 cents to $5.69. Gravecrawler had a big week. Dark Ascension up 268 to $7.59, with Dual Deck Bless versus Curse goes up 503 to $9.49. Now we get to the big movers. Bridge from Below, Modern Masters up 21.18 to $29.75. Future Sight up 31.09 to $41. And Vengevine, of course, up $50.74 to $72.94. This has come down a lot in the last 24 to 48 hours because there was such an aggressive spike when people were scrambling to get this card. So it's good to see it coming down a little bit. This will come down some more over the next few weeks, so don't go crazy here. Don't spend $70 on this card. And also, remember, when there's big jumps, and that could go in either direction, up or down, you're going to find lag in the marketplace. So it's very possible to find this card still for probably $50, $60 if you look around and look hard enough and maybe go to your LGS and kind of see what's going on there, because they're not going to adjust necessarily the same way the online market does because they don't have as many buyers. So they might not move it up to $70. Maybe they move it up from 50 to 60 or something like that. So shop around, find your deals, but just wanted to point this out. All right, let's talk about Legacy. The first place team, Ellen Wu, was running Death and Taxes. That also came in 3rd place. Second place, Josh Utter-Layton was running Blue Black Death Shadow. 4th place was Eldrazi Stompy. So let's quickly take a look at these. Death and Taxes. We kind of thought this deck would do better post bannings, and yeah, it is. Definitely performing very well. And you're not going to see big spikes or anything like that because for the most part, these are very well-known decks. People aren't scrambling to run out there and get any of these cards. Also, Legacy and Vintage, it's a little harder to create spikes based on gameplay, just simply because decks are usually a little more established. You don't see as many surprises, although it does happen from time to time. And you also have less people overall trying to buy into decks quickly. So, yeah, this one does perform well, though. And there is one card to point out, Sword of Fire and Ice, the original Darksteel one, did go up $1.71 to $56.70. Here's that Blue-Black Death Shadow. And you look at this deck list, and you're going to say, okay, yeah, Blue-Black Death Shadow. But one thing that really impressed me, the 2 Reanimates in the main, that's actually new tech, and it's really sweet. It looked great on camera. One card, though, that did move a little bit from here, Watery Grave, up $1.22 to $21.36. This is the original Ravnica City of Guilds one. And finally, a quick look at Eldrazi Stompy. No cards of note here to talk about that moved or anything like this. I will say, though, it is kind of nice to see some of the decks that are a little more affordable, quote-unquote, for Legacy, doing well, because especially Death and Taxes, that's probably the cheapest competitive Legacy deck you can buy into. Not to say that any of these are cheap, but if you want to slowly, over time, build into a deck, then you do have a few examples here that are decent, and they don't run that many, if any, of the dual lands, which do create a big cost if you're trying to build a deck. All right, with that being said, that's what happened to the Pro Tour. As long as there's no big news events or anything, tomorrow my plan is to put out the 4th video in the upgrade series. We're going to look at upgrades for Subjective Reality from Commander 2018. And then later in the week, we're going to do a special edition of the Market Watch that zeroes in on some of the Commander 2018 singles and what's going on with their prices. And then Saturday, of course, we'll do our regular Market Watch that we always do. So until next time, hey, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible by the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.